The story begins with a man standing outside a small, run-down apartment, holding his daughter's tiny hand. His name was Daniel Carter, a single dad, 34 years old, with eyes that carried both determination and exhaustion. The morning sun had barely risen, painting the cracked sidewalks gold, but Daniel's worn-out shoes tapped against them with purpose. Today wasn't just another day. Today was the day he had a job interview, one that could change both his and his daughter's lives forever. But there was a problem. Daniel didn't own a car. His old pickup truck had broken down months ago, and with no money for repairs, he had sold what little he could just to pay rent and keep food on the table. The bus route had been cut in his area, and calling a cab was out of the question. He couldn't even afford groceries sometimes, let alone a ride. So, with no other choice, Daniel laced up his battered sneakers, took a deep breath, and began walking the 10 miles to the downtown office building where his interview awaited. He glanced at his daughter, Emma, who was only 7 years old. She tugged on his sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, will this job mean we can buy my pink backpack again?" She had lost her favorite one weeks ago when Daniel couldn't keep up with the bills, and the landlord had threatened eviction. Daniel knelt down, looking into her hopeful eyes. "Sweetheart, if I get this job, we'll get you the best backpack they sell, with all the sparkles you want." Emma smiled, her missing front tooth making her look both adorable and fragile. She kissed her father's cheek, giving him strength he didn't even know he had. And so, Daniel began his long walk. Mile after mile, through dust, heat, and the heavy burden of his worries. Every step echoed his silent prayer, "Please, just give me this chance. I'll do anything for her." By the time Daniel reached the towering glass building, his shirt clung to his back, and his shoes had new holes. His legs ached, but he held his head high, clutching a manila folder with his resume inside. He wanted to appear professional, despite knowing his clothes were far from new. Inside the office, people in crisp suits bustled about. Daniel felt out of place, but he whispered to himself, "For Emma. This is for Emma." He checked in at the front desk. The receptionist gave him a curious glance, noticing the sweat on his forehead, but Daniel simply smiled politely. After a few minutes, he was escorted into a large, modern office. Behind a sleek desk sat Rachel Morgan, the CEO. Rachel was a woman known for her brilliance and her no-nonsense approach in business. But today, when she looked up and saw Daniel standing there nervously, something in his tired eyes caught her attention. "Mr. Carter, please, have a seat," she said warmly. Daniel sat down, trying to calm his racing heart. Rachel began asking him standard questions, about his past experience, his skills, his goals. He answered honestly, but she couldn't help but notice his worn shoes, his slightly disheveled appearance. Finally, she leaned forward. "Mr. Carter, may I ask, did you walk here?" Daniel froze, embarrassed. He hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, ma'am. 10 miles. I couldn't afford transportation, but I wasn't going to miss this opportunity." The room went silent for a moment. Rachel's eyes softened, though she kept her professional tone. 10 miles. For this interview. Daniel nodded again, swallowing hard. "I'm a single father. My little girl depends on me. I'll do whatever it takes to provide for her. I don't need handouts, ma'am. Just a chance. If you hire me, I promise I'll work harder than anyone else here." His voice cracked at the end, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt his pride break. He was desperate, but he was also determined. Rachel didn't speak immediately. Instead, she studied him with a thoughtful expression. She was used to people trying to impress her with polished resumes, expensive suits, and rehearsed speeches. But here was a man who had literally walked miles for a chance, not for himself, but for his daughter. After a long pause, Rachel smiled softly. "Mr. Carter, you don't have to convince me. You already have." Daniel blinked in confusion. I don't understand." Rachel stood and extended her hand. "You're hired. Starting today." Tears welled in Daniel's eyes as he slowly shook her hand. "Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. You won't regret this." But Rachel wasn't finished. "One more thing. I want you to know that we value people like you, who fight for their families, who don't give up. So, I've arranged something. From today onward, you won't have to walk 10 miles. I'm assigning you a company car. It's not brand new, but it runs, and it'll make sure you can get here every day, and take your daughter to school." Daniel's jaw dropped. His voice trembled. A car. Ma'am, I don't know what to say. Rachel smiled warmly. Just say you'll keep showing up, for your daughter and for yourself. The news spread quickly among the staff. Some whispered that the CEO had gone soft, but many admired her decision. Over time, everyone saw the truth. Daniel wasn't just a good hire, he was exceptional. He worked tirelessly, often staying late, learning quickly, and proving his worth. But the story didn't end there. Weeks later, Rachel called Daniel into her office again. She told him she had grown up with a single father too, and she understood his struggles. You remind me of him, she confessed. He taught me that true strength isn't about power or wealth, it's about sacrifice. That's why I knew I had to give you this chance. Daniel never forgot that day. He never forgot how one act of kindness had changed the entire course of his life. With his new job, he paid off his debts, moved Emma into a better home, and even bought her the pink backpack she had dreamed of. Years later, Emma would grow up remembering how her father never gave up, and how one woman's compassion turned their darkest days into light. And for Rachel, the CEO who gave him a chance, she always said, sometimes, the best investment a company can make isn't in technology or numbers, it's in people. Especially those who never stop fighting for love.